As for favorite memory of Stellaris, probably when the first stream of Stellaris Invicta Season 1. We put out the first video, like the prologue, saying this is everything that happened up to the point where the nation goes into space. And then I hopped over on Twitch, and we had, I think, 900 people waiting. And up to that point, our biggest stream had been maybe 50 people. And I opened the stream with this speech. And midway through the speech, I had a mini panic attack. And I'm like, oh God, Mark, if you screw this up in the middle of this, you're never going to live it down. I made it through it, but I nearly threw up in the middle of that opening speech. So that's my favorite Stellaris moment.
And good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome along to the second of our community roundtables. So I'll start with the important people and introduce them and then get round to me. But we'll start at the top and work our way down. So hello there, A-Spec. How are you?
See, the good thing with my name is that it has an A in it, which automatically means it's on the top. So hi, how you doing, DJ?
I'm really good, thank you. It's very much the phone book method of naming, right? It just means you're always first. It's clever.
See that analogy would be great if phone books were still a thing in 2020, or at least a thing since 2010 even.
I have slightly shown my age there, haven't I? Slightly. So let's move swiftly on. So next up, we have one of the people who actually works on the game. Good evening to Moah. How are you?
Hi, I'm now thinking of renaming myself AAA.
Please don't. Noggle will get upset with us. He really will. But how are you, Moah? Are you having a nice evening?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell the lovely people exactly what it is that you do on Stellaris, if you don't mind.
I am a programmer on Solaris. I program things and add bugs and fix them afterwards. And make everything move and be enjoyable, hopefully.
So it's you that everybody should shout at. No, don't shout at Moah. Moah's lovely. Never shout at Moah.
It's me that everybody already shouts at.
Yeah. I know the feels. Don't worry. And moving swiftly on, the next person we have is OldManMordaith. Good evening, Mord. How are you?
Doing quite well, DJ. Thank you for asking.
And so, if you don't know Mordauth is... I just realised, with A-Spec, I didn't tell anyone who you are or why you're here. Everyone knows A-Spec, I assume. A-Spec's a YouTuber, if you don't know that. But OldManMordaith is a Twitch streamer extraordinaire who has far too many hours in Stellaris. I would describe you as sort of a role-play and story-heavy streamer. Would you agree with that?
I think you'd be using very kind words. I've heard you describe my playstyle before, DJ.
Well, I am using kind words because your playstyle is disgusting and you refuse to min-max and it hurts my soul. There, I said it, all right? But yeah, no, Mordauth is somebody who, if you're not already following, you should most definitely go and take a look at. In all sincerity, I joke about his playstyle. He is one of the most entertaining people you'll find playing Stellaris. He's in chat, so you can just click and go and do the bit where you hit the follow button. It's free. Go and do it. So last, but by absolutely no means least, we have the wonderful Swiss Knight, or as you may know him, Mark from the Templin Institute. Good evening, Mark.
Hello, I just got a quick question. Stellaris, I'm a little out of the loop. That's the one where you have to, marry a 12-year-old to unify the Kingdom of Ireland? Or am I thinking of a different game?
No, you're thinking of the other Paradox game. That's Crusader Kings.
Oh, Stellaris is the space one. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, that one that series that you did that was moderately popular? You might remember it.
I don't think I've ever done anything moderately popular.
I would argue that that's not true. But if you have not seen the Templin Institute, ladies and gentlemen, the Templin Institute is a channel that focuses on sci-fi and fantasy universes. And in particular, of interest to us, is they have done a series that was called Stellaris Invicta on YouTube, which is, in my humble opinion, some of the best content that's ever been put out to do with Stellaris. And somebody like if you haven't watched Invicta, you just need to do it for yourself. Trust me.
Season 2 is coming, so please downplay expectations. I can't deal with the stress.
I have no doubt that season 2 is going to be every bit as exciting as the first.
God.
But we're going to be talking more about that very shortly. Don't you worry. And to quietly finish things off, a brief introduction to myself. I am one of the community ambassadors for Stellaris. My name is DJ Trusa, or Graham. You can take pick. And I am here as the host. I will try to stay relatively quiet throughout this and just poke these guys to get them to talk about interesting things. So, to introduce our topics for the evening, to line up with what has just happened with the console version of the game, and in the sort of spirit of the roundtable, we've decided that this evening we're going to focus on the expansions Distant Stars, Megacore, and Lithoids. So they're the three things that we're sort of going to be focusing on this evening, and we've all got sort of some stories from those expansions that we're going to talk about and that kind of thing. And so if you haven't worked out, this is very much sort of going to be a podcast style format where we're just going to be nattering amongst ourselves and sharing some war stories and all that sort of thing. Exactly, cozy podcast time, Hatling Empire. Exactly that. So I guess we'll once again start at the top, shall we, Aceberg? And I don't know, where would you like to start? Would you like to start with Lithoids, Megacore, or Distant Stars? Take your pick.
Well, what exactly are you asking me here? Like, which one would I prefer to play? Which one I'm looking forward the most in terms of, being rolled out? Can you clarify the question?
Okay, so which of those three do you have the fondest memories of?
Oh, Distant Stars, easily. Distant Stars by
Oh.
far. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was going to be a difficult question, and you just
No. It's Distance. Like, I've been fairly vocal about this in the past.
Yeah, you have.
There's two categories. I feel, at least. Well, technically there's three, but when it comes to the categories of the expansions, you've got the major expansions like Apocalypse, Utopia, Megacorp, etc., and of course the more content orientated ones. When it comes to those, especially the second one, I always feel that Utopia, in terms of the big expansions, is my favorite, just for the sheer amount of flavor and content that it adds. But Distant Stars just really, it scratches that itch that I really needed, specifically at the time, because it came out and I was like, oh man, I've seen all the events in the game like a million times. Distant Stars is like, oh man, this is a breath of fresh air, and it really builds on the mechanics that are already in the game, and especially unique systems, things like the encounters, new Leviathans, and all that stuff. It is really up there with my favorite expansions, especially amongst these three. It's by default the best one, in my opinion.
So, I mean, I know what you mean. Distant Stars, I remember, so for those that don't know, my background was that I was a full-time streamer before I started working Paradox. And back when I was streaming and Distant Stars came out, that was one of the moments that I remember as being a real reinvigoration of Stellaris. It took all of the building blocks that were there with the base game and just added to them, right? It just built on everything that was there and gave more depth, and as you say, just more variety, and meant that you didn't see the same things every time you played, and that sometimes things happened that you just didn't expect and couldn't really plan for.
In all honesty, when it comes to the game, is let's say you have the game, right? You have vanilla, and you're like, okay, I wanna experience more of this, what I have now, without adding any new mechanics. Distant Stars is pretty much the number one expansion for me to go to, mainly because it adds a mid-game crisis potentially if you misroll your proverbial dice. It adds more flavor to the game itself. It expands on established things that are already in the vanilla game, and it's pretty much, to me, it's the perfect expansion. It's cheap, it has a lot of flavor, and in my personal opinion, if there were nothing but Distant Star style expansions from here on out, I'd be okay with that, because I love events.
Yeah,
I think,
go Mo, go.
I think a lot of people on the Distant Stars team would be really happy to hear that, because a lot of the things you mentioned were definitely goals for distant stars, like making the galaxy more, full of more wonders even, than before. So I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that I think they set out a goal, they set out a theme. The theme being, hey, we're going to building the L cluster. So 50% of the content in there is going to be L cluster, and the rest is going to be fleshing out existing material or new stuff. And I think the content team, as well as the rest of the team that have been working on Distant Stars, should get nothing but a standing ovation for what they did. It distills the nature of the game to such an extent that it basically distills the entire nature of the game, and that is something that I was super happy about at the time and still am. And I was talking to some of the creators for console, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I found this and I found that," and it's like, "Oh wow, I'm so jealous." Mainly because you get to experience all this stuff for the very first time, and that's really exciting for you. And especially with my stuff, the first thing I always do when a new expansion comes out is I open up my text editor software, or at least my search software, and basically like, all right, what is in this expansion? What can I pull apart mechanically, and what is interesting to showcase on the channel? And a lot of the time, I don't really get to experience a lot of these new events for the first time, but from the ones that I have had, it's very exciting. It's very fun.
Yeah. Again, tonight isn't focused purely on the console version. This is just a Stellaris event. However, it is one of the nicest things about this new content coming to the console version. The amount of events that I had forgotten were Distant Stars content, to be perfectly honest with you, that I thought were in the base game, and then you're like, oh no, that was added with Distant Stars. Bubbles is a perfect example. I thought Bubbles was in from the day one, and it obviously memory playing tricks on me and everything. But sort of jumping in with the sort of Mordauth and Mark as well. What about you two? Same question that I asked Acebec, and then I'm going to go to Moah with a different question. So, same question I asked Acebec. We'll start with Mordauth. Mord, out of the three, which do you have the fondest memories of? Lithoids, Megacore, or Distant Stars?
Well, I think anyone that watches my content realizes it would be Megacore. I absolutely love the idea of conniving megacorporations, and my first real empire in Megacore were the Galactic Food Services. The insidious evil megacore that fooled everyone in the galaxy into thinking they were nice guys, and then eventually just nerve stapled a bunch of people and started selling them as burgers. It was glorious.
Immediately, someone in chat has come up with food services. Yes, I remember that run. I think that was around when we first met.
You are correct. You are correct.
Yeah, that was back when we first met. And Megacore, I remember Megacore because we had that huge creator event that happened around the launch of Megacore that Horath Drak put on, and the release of Megacore was really, really exciting. Obviously, I don't think it's any secret that it wasn't the smoothest launch ever, but the content that was added with Megacore, like when you look back on it now, if I took the stuff that's in Megacore out of the game, it's a bit like Distant Stars for me. It's at that point where I can't imagine it without the flavor of the different Megacores, right?
No, I agree 100%. I would sacrifice pretty much any other of the DLC, maybe save Federations to protect Megacore. So
Federations, I have to admit, has a very special place in my heart because it was our first release. Like when the community team that's in now took over, that was our first release, and yeah, has a very strong place in my heart. And I will want more details from you about your empires in particular, Maud, in this thing. But moving on to Mark, the same question goes for you, Mark.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say Megacorp. I think a few months before that was even announced, I put out this video that was called Mega Corporations Make Poor Governments.
Yeah, I was literally about to bring that up to you, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, the video was like, mega corporations are so stupid. If they ever took over the government, they'd be completely incompetent. And then a couple months later, that expansion gets announced, and I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna have to like figure this out. So then, I think Megacorp was also the first Stellaris expansion I got to stream to preview before it was released. And I remember that stream, I proved my video correct. My empire was a complete mess. I led us into ruin. So once again, I am 100% correct on everything.
Oh, Mark, bad at game.
Yeah.
I would like to beg to differ. Triple H Incorporated would like a word. They're a very effective government.
And I think a few months after that, I ended up doing like a criminal syndicate, which actually turned out pretty well. But no, I love the features that Megacorp added, and I think we hasn't mentioned the gambling casino place yet.
Not yet, no.
Because remember that was completely unbalanced at launch. Where you could just get like you didn't even need to mine anymore. You could just keep gambling, and eventually you'd be completely fine because you just get more and more minerals and energy.
Yeah, I did a live stream on that. Yeah, go ahead.
But I was going to mention that because I remember some old man like founding his whole empire through gambling, on maybe participating in the nerf to gambling.
I wonder who that might have been.
It's a streamer that should not be mentioned, but has a three words name.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
There.
I still have a spreadsheet sitting somewhere where every second time you would pull on the one-armed bandit, you would get something crazy out of it. And then I think this was in pre-release, so I did a bit of a showcase on it. And then it came out and it was nerfed into the ground. So I found the place. It's like, all right, let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go and get some money. And then the classic casino issue happened, and I walked out broke.
Yeah. So, well, this is the problem with gambling. It's not a guaranteed return, right? So, Moah, the question I'd like to ask you, rather than sort of what you have the fondest memory of release, is, and to be clear to everyone listening, you worked on quite extensively on Distant Stars and on Megacore, but not as much on Lithoids, correct?
I didn't work that much on Distant Stars either, and I did almost nothing on Lithoids, just prepare the release, really.
So, is it Megacore that you have sort of the fondest memories of from those three, or?
Well, yeah, kind of, but also because Megacorp has the Death Clash, and everyone who knows me knows that I'm all about the Death Clash. And like I have very fond memories of Platycorps, but there was also like crazy stuff people don't remember. Like you're all talking about Megacorp, like we just added, Mega Corporation, but we just rewrote the whole half the game.
The entire economy was overhauled.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. And then there were the changes happening because some people were too strong during the Death Clash. There were the surprise features being added because like there were good ideas, but kind of added at the last minute.
Can you clarify one? Like what was one where you're like, oh no, this is terrible?
It's terrible. It's like, when did we add that? Like, yes, the Xeno compatibility. It's one feature where you read Reddit and someone is like, oh, what would be really cool would be to have some kind of feature where you can bonk the aliens like a good Star Trek captain. And then in the afternoon, you see a tweet from Martin. Oh yes, I've just added Xeno compatibility.
And these two things are related.
Maybe it's hard to know, but yeah, I love the idea. The surprise feature not as much, but the idea was really good.
So, when I mean, were you involved in the decision to redesign from the ground up, or were you just told that? And if so, what was your reaction when you were sort of told, entire redesign on the planetary system and things like that?
Well, I was still recovering from let's redesign the whole galactic travel from
the
Apocalypse
FTL system.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like still in shock. So the second one didn't come as much as much of a shock. We discussed it, and I thought at the time it would be a great idea because the performance issues before Megacorp were all about the economy and recalculating the economy all the time.
Yeah.
And that was one of our goals, was to improve that performance, and that worked really well. But the way we handled pops, on the fact that we went from maximum 25 pops per planet to 100 or more, kind of backstab us in terms of performance.
Yeah, as you say, sort of introduce some of those surprise features, right?
Yeah.
But that's an issue that largely now is dealt with, I would say. Like, compared to where it was when Megacore released, it feels an awful lot better. You guys have put a lot of work into that, right?
Oh yeah. It's been ongoing for a long time before we managed to solve most of the issues. We still have some ways to go, but optimization, it's a road that never ends.
Yeah, right. It's a never-ending process. No matter how good it gets, you want it to be better.
So is this
Well-
is this particular thing being handled on a script level or on a core code level?
Both. So, for example, one of the problem is how was, because that has been, I believe, solved. The job distribution, where you would look at everyone and check what jobs they should take. And like on script level, you have loops where you go through every population for every population. So you get like squared loops and things like that. So we ended up rewriting some new triggers to avoid these loops. And on the core codes, there were also things where, well, you don't need to check every job, right? You only need to check the jobs that are available on the planet, for example. So yeah, it's on both sides.
It's not been a simple thing to deal with.
No, but it's been fun.
Yeah, a challenge. Life's
Yeah.
boring without challenge, right?
Absolutely.
So jumping back to you, Aceback, you obviously are moderately famous for your video content. I think that's fair to say, right?
I guess you can make that argument, sure.
You could make that argument, yeah. So, with that being said, which, again, is it Distant Stars that you felt sort of was best as a content creator? Or, is there any moment that you look back through these three where it's like, that was a moment that things got better, anything like that? Like, share us memories from a content creator's point of view.
Well, the less we say about the Megacorp launch, the better. Let's not touch that subject. When it comes to, like, at the time, I felt that it was. I kind of have that right now as well. Actually, I felt that there was a bit of a slump for a while in terms of being excited for the game. And I think that was a really, really big issue for me as well. And once again, I felt at the time, and I still feel this, that Distant Stars really reinvigorated my what's the word I'm looking for here? Excitement for the game. And that's something that hadn't happened for a while. I've said this before, and when I was doing Crusader Kings 2 back in the day, these are games that are driven by their events. The mechanics themselves are but an extension of driving these events. And if I could have 17 megs of extra events, I would probably never play another game ever again, because I would like to find I would like to have events that would spawn maybe once in an entire player's life cycle. And that's not going to happen, because that would not be a very good use of time for the creators or the content developers. But it's just, it made the game more exciting for me and for everybody else as well. So again, Distant Stars is that game for me. But that expansion is for me. Even.
I got good news for you, Spec. Have you heard of mods?
I have heard of mods, and also I have been playing quite a lot of them, and I have been featuring quite a lot of them. But in the end, the official support is what really gets the blood flowing. It's especially when new modifiers are being added and new triggers that modders can go completely ham with. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff right there.
It's events are my favorite part of the game. I have to admit, the story that gets generated from all of the different events, the different anomalies, the archaeology chains. I adore the archaeology chains.
See, I don't like.
Oh really? I really like them.
Let's once we get to that particular
I was about to say,
at some point, maybe in the future, then we can discuss this. But
future roundtable. That sounds like an interesting discussion between the pair of us.
The entire time. Mordov and Mark are here as well. So.
Oh yes, no, don't worry. We're just about to jump over to them. Funnily enough, it is interesting that, again, it's Distant Stars, although it doesn't have the headline stuff, the amount of depth that Distant Stars adds is slightly ridiculous. It genuinely is. So, Mord.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
You create some rather imaginative empires, don't you?
Yes, I guess I thank you. I like to think so.
Well, I know you do. I've watched enough of your stream. They always have story, right?
I try, yes. Usually a story to try to highlight mechanics, but story nonetheless.
So a question I immediately have is, do you have any lithoid empires that you could tell us about?
I think my favorite lithoid, and it kind of contradicts something I often say on my stream. I don't really like playing like Devouring Swarms and stuff like that, because I feel like the roleplay is limited with them. But because I always find like the outcomes, it seems a little samey. However, one of my favorite lithoids was when I played the Maw of Zangrit, a sentient group of rock monsters that they were terravores, and I had so much fun playing terravores. It was such an amazing experience. So I really enjoyed that as far as the Maw of Zangrit was concerned.
So the Terravore is the planet-consuming lithoids, right?
Yes, it seemed a little OP, but I really liked it. It's good to burn off some steam for sure.
And so was that the hive mind variety? Or was
they were a hive mind. The Maw of Zangrit was specifically a sentient rock formation that was being mined on its home world, and then it somehow was able to react. A spark came from the pick, and they wound up consuming the first sentient life on the planet, and it just kind of worked out from there.
That's an interesting one. And so how did the playthrough go? Did you win?
Yeah, we consumed the entire galaxy. It was my first time getting an entire map full of my entire empire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And did you get an end game? That's the last question on that one.
Actually, we wound up beating it way before the endgame crisis would have. Like I went up
Okay.
conquering the galaxy way before the endgame crisis showed up. So I said, we'll call that.
You mean you were efficient?
No, I was not.
But that sounds like you were efficient to me. It sounds like there was some efficiency involved.
Well, maybe a little.
A little. I will rub off on you one day. You
One day.
will. Yeah.
One day.
I'm going to force you to play a min-max Empire through roleplay.
Very well. An accountant firm.
Yeah, basically. Like, everything has to be uber efficient. Like, that's actually a really good idea. Why haven't I thought of this before? I'm doing that to you at some point.
Put it in my diary.
So, Mark.
Yes. That's me. What can I do
With
for
you, I think the logical thing to bring up would be that the L cluster was rather central to the plot of the first episode, the first series of Invicta, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the site of one of the coolest moments of the whole campaign.
So, do you want to give us, for those that don't know, spoiler warning, like mild spoilers for Invicta warning, but do you want to give us a little background on the moment before we go into the moment itself, so that people can...
Yeah, so I was playing as the Greater Terran Union during the first season of Stellaris Invicta. The Unbidden had just arrived in the galaxy at the worst possible moment. It was in just as the War in Heaven was kind of wrapping up. Our economy was kind of in ruins. I think our fleets were all in need of repair, and it just didn't seem like we were going to win. So we were kind of building up this big counterattack to go after the Unbidden. And to do it, we had to leave the L cluster undefended. And I think the L cluster, the capital planet there, we called Styx. So Styx and the L cluster I kind of use interchangeably here. But so we got all the fleets together. We're just about to go after the Unbidden. And I don't know why, but everyone in Twitch chat was saying the Unbidden won't get to the L cluster because the AI doesn't know how to use the L gates or whatever. So I was like, okay, I can leave the L cluster undefended, no problem at all. Except they were wrong. Twitch chat lied to me. And this big force of Unbidden shows up in the L cluster. And I'm like, oh god, I'm screwed, because if they take the L cluster, they're going to be able to spread all across the galaxy through the L gates and all that. And I only had one small fleet defending it. So I'm trying to race back to the L cluster to save it from the Unbidden. The Unbidden are kicking my ass. And I'm screwed. Like, there's no way I can get there in time. When out of nowhere, the Khan shows up. The Great Khan, who hadn't done anything the entire game, just blasts his way into the L cluster. His fleet is pitiful. Like, there's no way he's going to win. But he slows down the Unbidden just long enough for my reinforcements to come in and save the galaxy. It was unbelievable.
And so quite literally, the Great Khan saved the galaxy through his sacrifice, or her sacrifice.
Yeah, no one saw it coming.
It's a good redemption arc, right? It made for a good movie.
It did, yes. That was one of the funnest moments in both the streams and in the recap videos we put out later.
And this also happened during the Death Clash, where the Khan got access to an L gate and just spread like wildfire.
Yes, I remember that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, the Khan plus the L gate is not the best mix, is it? Although, to be honest,
it is the best mix.
Well, or the best mix, dependent on your ability to defend yourself, I suppose. Or, what story you're trying to tell as well. I guess that's a part of it, isn't it? Because, not every story ends in victory. And to be honest, I think that's one of the stronger things about Stellaris, that you can get stories that end in defeat that are still interesting, that are still exciting. Which you don't get in some, that's not possible in all games, right? You lose in a lot of games and you're frustrated, whereas sometimes some of the best stories that come out of a game like Stellaris are the ones that end with you
like in
being...
Dwarf Fortress, for instance.
Yeah, Rimworld's another good example, I think. But to get back on to sort of subject, Mark, Invicta.
Yeah.
There's a sequel coming. I think we should
yeah.
probably talk about it a little bit, shouldn't we?
I suppose so.
It's something of an elephant in the room.
I
So
don't know about that. It's like a small dog in the room, I'll say.
you say dog, I say elephant. You know, mountain, molehill.
All right.
Same
Yeah. Stellaris Invicta. It's the series that on my YouTube channel, the Templin Institute has put on. I think, the second season. The first one launched in 2018, and the idea is we stream a game of Stellaris on our Twitch channel, and then we do, I think, 4 streams a month or 1 a week, and then once a month we put out a documentary style video that goes over the events of the game, and we get way too into it, where we come up with a really long backstory for the nation, its politics and society and culture and all these things, and we do community votes. And our patrons get to vote on all these different decisions we make. So the game's story is told as we play through it, and then we get these nice recap videos that go over everything that happened.
And basically, the sort of playlist of the first series, if you watch it, is essentially like watching a Stellaris movie. It's as close as we've got at the moment, I would say. And it's a spectacular piece of entertainment. Again, if you haven't seen it, you really, really should go and have a look.
I really think we need to downplay expectations, because I'm so scared that, like, the Greater Terran Union from the first season was so popular.
Yep.
And the second season is focused on the Antares Confederacy. And I hope it's as popular, but you never know. So tune in to find out.
I'm super looking forward to it. I think it was the one that I was my favorite of the batch that you put out for people to choose from. And so, tell people a little of the Antares Confederacy before we move on.
Yeah, the Antares Confederacy. It's based on the Lost Colony start, the origin that was introduced as part of federations. So the idea was there was this flotilla of colony ships that went through a warp gate and ended up not where they were supposed to. So they split up and settled this new star system, and then 200 years later, they've managed to reunify into this kind of loose confederacy of nations, and they're trying to go back out into the galaxy once again to find Earth, but also their politics are very complex, and not all the nations necessarily like each other, so there's the potential for it to kind of crumble before it reaches Earth.
And that's quite a nice mystery hook as well, with one of the fate of one of the colonies. You've introduced a little hook there as well.
Yeah, there was 19 original colonies across the star system, and only 11 survived, and the fate of one of them is classified, and no one knows why.
So have you ever read the story behind StarCraft by any chance?
Yes, I have. And there's some similarities.
Or Freelancer, for that matter.
Freelancer I love, and StarCraft I love, but I kind of forgot about both of those influences when I was coming up with the story, and it was only afterwards in the YouTube comments when some guy was like, "This is a lot like StarCraft." I was like, "God damn it, he's kind of right." So,
but this is the problem with tropes in sci-fi, though, isn't it? It's no matter what you do, it's the equivalent of The Simpsons did it, right?
Exactly. Freelancer did it.
Yep. So unfortunately, at this point, there's no we don't have a big reveal of a date or anything like that for you. But you're working on getting Invicta 2 ready, and there will be news via social media when there's news, I believe.
I'm really confident it's going to be out before 2025.
There we go.
Before I think that's almost a guarantee at this point. I'm willing to announce that.
Yeah, I like that. There you go. There you go. World exclusive, everybody. Invicta 2 released by 2025.
Before the heat death of the universe.
Yeah, there we go.
Didn't they say something similar about Duke Nukem Forever?
And I think our new series is at least going to be the equal of Duke Nukem Forever. I can also guarantee that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for, that level of quality and polish.
We didn't reach Daikatana levels.
Oh, wow. There's a throwback. Good gosh. I remember the hype around that. Good lord. But, so, Moah, jumping in with you.
Hi.
So I'm going to give you a very open-ended question here and allow you to choose what you would like to sort of talk about. But would you like to regale us with a war story from the time of the development of Megacore or Distant Stars?
Um, hmm. A war story from the development of Megacorp.
Immediately, people are asking for Platicorp.
Oh yeah, Platicorp. That was good, right?
Platicorp was amazing. I'm not gonna lie.
I tried hard to make Platicorp live and hype it to the players, but in the end, I guess I wasn't entertaining enough. We were the first federations to be betrayed by Ilya, the forever traitor of that Death Clash, who went on to betray everyone else.
At every
Yes.
available opportunity.
Sorry about the cat. They are very excited about the opportunity for food. We were trying at some point, like we were really about to die. We had one planet down. I made some really big mistakes of surrendering to fallen empires, well, awakened empires. Everyone told me afterwards, after I had surrendered to them, that I was they obviously could not reach me, and that was true. I could have totally ignored the threats. But yeah, it was really exciting to try how do I say that? Words are failing me again. Try and cling on the border of the cliff,
Yeah, just try and stay alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think by the time I came in for an episode, like by the time Acebec and I were in for a couple of episodes where we subbed in for some people, you were down to a very small amount of space.
Yeah, and then I was absorbed by the Church of the Fake Steve, and that was sad.
That was the sad end.
I tried to save you.
Yeah, I know.
We did our best.
But these things happen. So.
And as we were saying,
that
not
was
all
really fun.
Yeah, and not all good stories like end in defeat, end in victory, right? It's a good story that ended in defeat. And one of the things that I really remember from back then was the all the propaganda that was going out on social media and that sort of thing. The fact that you had Twitter accounts for the different empires and stuff. Yeah. It was really nice to see that.
I think I started the Twitter account trend, but Groogy started the whole propaganda posters trend.
Yeah.
With the help of which streamer who was doing the propaganda, and I was trying to keep up, but my artistic talent is what's the word, non-existent, I guess. So I was putting some very sad Word documents. Meanwhile, you had Alex of the family who was doing superb artwork that was expertfully photoshopped. And which streamer contacted me and said, like, do you mind if I help with some of your propaganda? I was like, oh yes, please do. So she kind of saved the quarterly reports there.
And funnily enough, which streamer, if you watched the Cold War that we did over the Federation's launch, which streamer was the same person that did all the propaganda for that event as well. A very seriously talented lady, that one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you are in need of Stellaris propaganda, go to Witch Streamer. If you're in the Discord and you've seen any of the Triple H propaganda, she's done all of that pretty much as well. Really, really is worth. And also Maud, she does an awful lot with your stream as well, right?
She does pretty much most of my promotional material. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Send me over her rates. Let's see what we can sort out.
No problem whatsoever. I'll put you in touch.
To be fair, though, that particular session that you're talking about, the tactical jump drive usage in that was some primo stuff right there.
Yeah, you and I, when do you remember that moment where I was just like, ASPEC, they're all battleship, all their fleets are battleships.
They're all battleships, and we're all corvettes. Let's just jump over and watch them. And they did. Apparently, 2 or 3 ships of the Cornucopia didn't have jump drives in them, which meant
that saved us. Yep, completely saved us.
We'll just bomb this planet into the ground. It's gonna be great. Oh, what's this? The contingency spawned in the middle of my empire, and the commentator's like, oh no, this is going to end badly. 5 minutes later, the contingency is dead. It's like, oh, that went well.
That was okay. Yeah, it's no, that was a huge amount of fun. That whole event, and there are plans in motion for more multiplayer shenanigans that we're planning. So for those that have been wondering about that, we are planning stuff. We have nothing to announce, but we are planning stuff. So we've got about 8 minutes left. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes each. I'm going to start at the bottom this time and work my way up, rather than at the top and work my way down. So Mark, I'm going to start with you. Just basically, give us a couple of minutes on sort of your favourite part of Stellaris. Give us your best memory, essentially.
Ooh, best memory or favorite part? Because that's kind of different.
Ooh, go with both. Answer both the questions.
Okay. Well, my favorite part of Stellaris is the potential for storytelling. Even stuff that doesn't have a huge effect on gameplay, or maybe is detrimental in gameplay, can sometimes make the best story. So I love that the game includes all those civics and ways to change the nature of your empire, because a lot of other games don't give you that sort of that freedom to do that. So that's what I love. I like being able to craft your own nation and craft your own story. That's the best. And as for favorite memory of Stellaris, probably when the first stream of Stellaris Invicta Season 1, we'd put out the first video, like the prologue, saying this is everything that happened up to the point where the nation goes into space. And then I hopped over on Twitch, and we had, I think, 900 people waiting. And up to that point, our biggest stream had been maybe 50 people. And I opened the stream with this speech. And midway through the speech, I had a mini panic attack. And I'm like, oh God, Mark, if you screw this up in the middle of this, you're never going to live it down. I made it through it, but I nearly threw up in the middle of that opening speech. So that's my favorite Stellaris moment.
I was there. I remember it well. I think I was the first. I think it was the first channel to raid you guys on Twitch as well, if I remember rightly.
If you listen to it again, that speech was supposed to start with me speaking kind of softly, and then I'd be yelling by the end of it. It was supposed to be granular, but what ended up happening is I was so terrified that I just started yelling for no reason halfway through.
It went well. It went well. You really elevated sort of the story side of things.
I hope so. Yeah.
You did. You really did. So, jumping on, Mordauth, the same questions to you.
So the questions were favorite Stellaris moment and favorite thing about Stellaris.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, my favorite thing about Stellaris would probably be, and I say this often on my channel, that Stellaris gives you the tools that you need to make your own space opera, essentially. The tools that you could need to play your own science fiction empire. And every DLC you guys seem to put out, it just adds more to that. Like you can play your money-minded mega corporations, your pious crusading do-gooders, that sort of thing. And even for people like me who like to focus on roleplay over min-maxing and playing whatever the current meta is, you can meet Stellaris on your own terms, play, win, and succeed, and even play competitively, and you're not left in the dirt.
Yep.
And I really love that. I absolutely love that. It's been the game I've been looking for decades. As far as my favorite Stellaris moment, one that I always go back to was one of my first Stellaris streams, and I was playing the Warren of Hope a bunch of giant space rabbits, crusaders. And I was still struggling fighting the in-game crisis. The in-game crisis came in and whooped my butt. But there was this space in the galaxy between two fallen empires that had been untouched and undeveloped. So we basically took all of our surviving populace and jumped into this sector and emergency colonized everything. And we came back later and drove back the Scourge. It was amazing. It was one of my favorite moments in Stellaris.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
that's genuinely awesome. So Moah, the same questions to you.
Oh my, they are tough questions.
They are.
I think my favorite part of Stellaris is the discovery at the beginning. Like, you don't know what's waiting for you in the galaxy, and you're about to discover probably that you're just behind some kind of interdimensional monster that wants to eat you, but you don't know. And like the world trying to explore, meeting people, that's really awesome. And my favorite moment, I'm torn between the Dev Clash and the first office multiplayer that I joined when I joined the Stellaris team, where there were shenanigans going on between some team members, and we were happily like killing each other's. And then the crisis happened, and I think at the time it was the first contingency, maybe, or
It was contingency.
Yeah, and Marcus, who was playing, I don't remember what he was playing during the Dev Clash, but he's the guy who only plays the xenophobe pacifist in Stellaris.
The inward perfectionists.
Yes, exactly. He only plays that. And then he woke up, and while the crisis was basically destroying us all because we were focusing on killing each other, he just came and said, "Oh, do you think that will be enough ships?" And he just mopped the floor with the crisis.
Inward perfectionist saves the galaxy. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So, jumping on last but by no means least, Aceback.
So you want me to my favorite moment in gameplay, and what was the other one again? What
Just
is
your favorite thing about the game.
Okay.
Like what draws you back to the game? You know.
No, let's put that one in a draw at the moment, and let's talk about my favorite moment. Because whilst you guys were talking, I was thinking about this. So I've got over 3,000 hours in the game now, so there's many moments, but there's one in particular that really shines through, and that's the following. So I was playing with this mod called Gigastructural Engineering. It's completely insane. It's hilarious. It's over the top. It's awesome. If you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out. Anyway, one of the last things you can do in the mod at the time was build a super weapon called a nickel Dyson sphere. So effectively what it is it's a Dyson sphere that shoots a giant energy beam across the stars and can blow up entire solar systems. That's the idea behind it. Costs an absolute ton of resources, takes forever to build, and is just mind-blowingly awesome. Anyway, so I'm playing with this empire called the Peluche, which is a meme thing on the channel. And this is it was headed by Trevor, Forever Trevor. And at the end, it's like, okay, we got one enemy remaining, and I could easily crush them if I wanted to, but I'm gonna build this nickel Dyson sphere, and I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna blow up this empire, and it's gonna be done. Series will end. It's gonna be great. So I built the nickel Dyson sphere. I get the Stargate required in place over the enemy planet because I'm going to blow up the solar system. It's going to be great. I shoot the button. Screen goes white. Game crashes. And I'm just like, okay. This is all happening live on stream at the time, by the way. And game crashes, screen goes white. And I was like, all right, cool. Okay, so we'll just quickly reload. It's a mod. Crashes happen. There's no quality control here because of it's a mod. So I go back into the game. I load up the mod, and the mod has literally, by firing the nickel Dyson sphere, the ultimate weapon, destroyed the save file. There is nothing left of the entire galaxy. There is no stars. There is just the galaxy image remaining. And I'm just like, well, this is just the absolute perfect ending. I could not have asked for anything better than this. Genocidal teddy bears have done the ultimate thing and have destroyed the galaxy at large,
including themselves.
Including themselves. That was one of the best ones. It was great, and that stands out as one of my favorite moments that I've ever had in the game. Sadly, it's a bit of mod, but it was completely insane. Regarding the game itself, the best thing about the game. So, the best thing about Stellaris as a game is the fact that, and this is going to sound somewhat counterintuitive, the best part about the game is also its weakest part about the game at the same time. The fact that you can build an empire that is completely shaped by your actions to a certain degree is by far the strongest part of the game. And I think I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. Solaris is but a empty canvas, and you paint your game on this. You paint your history upon this canvas. And that by far is one of the best things. Your choices, your initial decisions can have far-reaching impact. What kind of civic have you picked at the start of the game? It will mean you will have this impact. And I really wish there would be more events in the game that would basically say, oh, you've taken this civic, or you've taken this particular decision. That has impact on this event. There's not enough of that. But that also at the same time is the weakest part of the game, mainly from a marketing standpoint, but also from a story standpoint. Whilst there are established semi-canonical empires within the game that exist and canonical characters to a certain extent, only the ones that you create in your quote-unquote timeline or cycle are the ones that matter. You cannot push this game to a larger audience that say, hey, there is this empire you remember from, say, a previous game. Let's say you made a sequel to it, and push that as a marketing tool, or bring back empires from before. And that right there is both its weakest and its strongest. The fact that you can go ham and create Warhammer 40k, or you can build the Star Trek Utopia, or you can build the Federation from now let's say Dune, something similar. You can build any sci-fi universe on this, and whilst that it's a strength, it's also its weakness. And that right there, I think, perfectly describes my favorite part about the game. It is strong and weak at the same time, and it's beautiful.
That's I think that's a pretty perfect way to sum it up, to be perfectly honest. I think I'm slightly taken aback. That is a perfect way of describing Stellaris. And yeah, you're pretty much right about everything.
I've had many shower discussions just with myself just to clarify this.
So
shower thoughts is the word.
Shower thoughts, yeah, right. I think with that bombshell, we'll call it to an end because our time is up. We've actually taken more of your time than I intended. But to bring things to a close, I would like to thank all of you for taking part. We really, really have appreciated it. Ladies and gentlemen, your guests have been the wonderful A-Spec. Say goodbye, A-Spec.
Bye, A-Spec.
Excellent. You did it first time. I love it. We have had the wonderful Moah. Say goodbye, Moah.
Goodbye, Moah.
We've had the wonderful old man Mordauth. Say bye, Mord.
Bye. Goodbye.
And and we've also had the wonderful Mark of the Templin Institute. Say goodbye, Mark.
Hello. Oh wait, no. Goodbye. Ah, God, I screw it up every time.
No shower rations for you today, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, screwed up. Screwed everything. Screwed the pooch, man. I don't know. Right, everybody, I have been DJ. This lot have been wonderful. We would also like to say all of our thank yous to Nurgle, who has been behind the scenes making sure everything has worked. And also to Mr. Freak, my other community ambassador, who has been in chat making sure you all behave. If you haven't already, come and join us in the Discord. The Discord is open, and you're more than welcome to come and hang out. We're all on there. It's a nice place. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Do let us know if you have. And with that, I'm going to call it a night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We will speak to you all again soon.